Welcome back, you crazy kids. It's another episode of the Manson Brothers Show. I am your host, Skull Manson, here with my bro.
Skull Manson.
Hey,
That's me.
Yeah. Going with the derby again. Is that a derby? What is that thing?
That's a fedora.
Oh,
This is my Rocky Balboa hat.
Holy cow. Rocky Balboa. I like it. Hey, today, speaking of classics like Rocky Balboa.
And Led Zeppelin.
This is an exciting episode for me.
Yeah.
We're going to talk
Oh,
about
you too.
my top 3 favorite movies of all time.
Gone with the Wind.
No.
No?
Not even close.
Oh.
Escape from New York.
Oh, I love that one too.
One of my favorite places in the world. I'd never want to escape from there. But in this case, probably, and we'll be right back to talk about Kurt Russell, Escape from New York, all kinds of other stuff. Can't wait. See you in a second. We are back. Hey, man, this is like
It's a big one.
Valhalla for me. This is the coup de grace, the cherry.
Wait a minute,
on
there
top.
ain't no French food in this movie. Isn't that
Okay.
goose liver,
Check
coup de
one.
grace?
That's is it pate?
No, that's that chick you dated in 4th grade.
That's partay. Goose liver is foie gras.
Sounds like a wrestling move.
Thank you very much.
I put the foie gras.
Put him in the foie gras and we took it home.
Down he went.
Yes. Anyway, hey, seriously, we got to take all the time we possibly can to talk about. In my mind, John Carpenter's either first or second best movie.
It's up there. I'd put it at first or second. I don't know if I'd put it first because I really like The Thing.
Yeah,
I think that Thing might have.
I don't want to hear that.
But it's up there. It's definitely. And what I like about it, it's kind of a departure from up to that point. The movies he was doing were horror films, right?
Yeah. Well,
And granted, okay, folks, we get it. It's not a horror movie, but it's got enough elements in there.
Yeah.
It's got elements.
Yeah. What I like
a
about
dystopian future, etc.
Well, that's part of it. What I like about that is that, like, one of the things I think that just gets glossed over is how phenomenal of an idea is it that you turn Manhattan into a prison and everyone goes there.
We were kids when this came out, and even watching the trailers, I thought, wow, that's a cool idea.
That is a great concept.
Unlike nowadays where there are no cool ideas, all these ideas are rehashed. That's just dumb. Very, very rarely do you get a cool idea like this.
I think it speaks to it when they tried to do Escape from LA. It just didn't hold the same cachet.
Sorry, John.
There's no island, right? Unless you go to Catalina, and no one wants to escape from there anyway.
Yeah, why would you want to escape from Catalina? It's awesome.
I know, right?
We got kicked out of there one time, but we certainly didn't have to escape.
It's tough to get kicked out. They threw you on a dinghy. Had you over.
Oh man!
Speaking of getting thrown in
dinghies kicked in,
I'll give you a call later, Carolyn. So let's talk about the different elements of Escape from New York. Which the number one element.
By the way, spoiler alert, folks! This isn't a review show. We're going to talk about the movie. We're going to be spoilers. So if you haven't seen it,
we're going to talk about.
I assume most people have seen this one. So shut it off. Come back. Hopefully,
let's start with the obvious.
Yeah,
the Carpenter lead hero action character, the one and only Snake Plissken.
Possibly, if Escape from New York is not his number one film, Snake Plissken is definitely the greatest hero he ever invented, and I might add, possibly with my bent finger, possibly one of the greatest heroes of any 80s films ever for that matter.
He's the guy.
If I had to make a top 10 list of heroes from films, Snake of all time, Snake Plissken's on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've talked about before the kind of Carpenter lead guy, which is either you get the Plissken or the R.J. McCready guy, or you get the Tom Atkins guy, who's just there by mistake.
Right. Or, by the way, Tom Atkins also in this film.
He is
with my other bent finger.
With also, let's talk about that. Let's talk about
my bent finger.
Carpenter regulars. That are in this film.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I like about John Carpenter films. He was like John Ford, and by the way, Carpenter very much influenced by John Ford. Love John Ford, folks. If you don't know who John Ford was, I suggest you hit the Google.
Yes,
and Google him. One of the greatest American directors of all time. When asked, Orson Welles said, they asked, who's your favorite three American directors, and he said John Ford, John Ford, and John Ford. So, but much like John Ford, he liked to use the same people. So you got Kurt Russell, you got Charles Cyphers in there, who was in Halloween.
What is Charles Cyphers not in?
That John Carpenter does, right? You got Adrian Barbeau.
Assault on Precinct 13, he was in.
Halloween.
He was in The Fog. He was in Halloween. He's in this.
Slew of them.
Yeah.
Right? So you got Adrian Barbeau, who's in 3 Carpenter things at least.
Also in The Fog.
Fog. She was in.
Where is she hotter? This movie or The Fog?
Oh, that's a hard one. I'm gonna
dress, dude.
I know. I'm gonna shock you now. I'm gonna go with The Fog. She's hotter in The Fog, and I'll tell you why.
All right.
Because she's just dressed average, and she's still hot. Like, you could dress up a lot of hot women, in really, sexy and beautiful dresses, and they look great. But put them in regular clothes, and you're like, they're average. Adrian Barbeau is hot no matter what. So
here's what I will give you on that. Here's where I would not agree, but I will say this. First off, Adrian Barbeau has a great voice, too.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
got that
sleepy,
sexy,
gravelly
thing.
kind of, yeah.
But she
Got a phone
accentuates the
voice.
living shit out of it in The Fog when she's Stevie Wayne. So it's got a little bit more.
I like her in this because she's a badass.
Oh, she's a badass.
Like
she
a big badass. Right? She doesn't like Pliskin at the beginning.
No.
And she what I like about it is, so wait, let's get back to the regulars. So you've got Donald Pleasance.
Yep.
Another one. Yep. Right? So he's in a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of smaller characters in there that are character players.
Big. That's the thing. All the characters are big.
Yeah, but even the background people, there's some people in there that are
Carey Dean Stanton.
Isaac Hayes.
Isaac Hayes, chef from South Park.
And one of the greatest, funk, blues, R&B recording artists of all time. Anyway, theme from Shaft, Say No More,
Did he sing that? Can't Get Enough of Your Love?
No, that was Barry White.
Oh. They had very similar voices.
They're very deep voices. No, Isaac Hayes was more funk, and Barry White was.
Who was that other guy that was kind of in the same vein? I can't remember. Luther Vandross.
Luther Vandross, yeah. Luther Vandross scared the shit out of people.
He did?
Yeah, he had a really strong voice, yeah. But anyway, we digest. But Isaac Hayes is great in this movie. He was great. Carey, really, I don't know. This is maybe only his second or third acting bit.
He didn't know a whole lot of stuff.
No, he played. Was he Slaughter?
Or was He'll forever be the Duke.
No, maybe that was. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what his big blaxploitation movie was. It wasn't Hammer. That was Fred Williamson. Was it Sledgehammer?
We'll cover that on blaxploitation.
Yeah, we got to do a few of those because those are some of my favorite films. Being a child of the early
Blackula.
70s.
There you go.
Love that. Forgot a real creepy parts of it, but we'll cover that on another show.
We're talking about Escape from New York. So
let's talk about Kurt Russell as a hero. When you see, although one would say he's an anti-hero because he's really a bad guy.
The best kind of hero.
Yeah, nonetheless, when you see him, you're like, no question in your mind. Just like in The Thing. When you see him, you're like,
listen,
he's the guy.
When Pliskin shows up on the transport thing, and they get him off.
And they got those cool hands.
Right.
I mean, they look cool in hand.
Everything looked cool. Yeah. You know that this dude, he actually makes the point, which is like, well, fuck, I'm going in anyway. So what the hell? I might as well go.
Yes, I'm going in one way or the other.
And
but might we add Lee Van Cleef, one of the greatest movie badasses of all time. Yes. You got, Few Dollars More, Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Sartana, and a bazillion other
Let's talk about Lee Van Cleef's character, which is he's
the man who shot Liberty Valance.
Yeah, we're not talking about Western. He's the chief of police in New York, right?
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
He knows Pliskin from their war exploits.
Yeah.
Clearly,
they're both special forces guys.
Texas Thunder one's the other one.
Was Bob Houck.
He's Bob Houck.
Bob Houck. So he's a badass in his own right.
But the cool thing is like one of the interesting things about this movie is obviously it's supposed to be set in the future, which we now know
was the past.
Nothing happened like that.
Right. but it's happening now.
But Bob Houck is the chief of police, and he's rocking an earring. He's got a
it's cool, man. Yeah.
And he's riding around in a limo. That's the other thing. When he shows up, first he gets out of a limo.
So here's another wardrobe question. So was the earring was that Carpenter's thing of going, or the wardrobe people like, hey, he looks really cool? Or is that just Lee Van Cleef? Because Lee Van Cleef was an artist.
I gotta believe that knowing Carpenter, that's a Carpenter decision. I think we talked about this before with the thing.
Yeah,
right?
with the nose ring for
like I think that's a Carpenter thing to just the little thing
Richard Deeser
about to show you that it's the future. Like, oh, these people were so progressive.
He had a fit earring.
The chief of police
wore an earring.
Watch, you know, an earring.
It's cool because even now, if you went to your local police department and went to the chief of police, I'm gonna bet he's not wearing an earring, or even she.
No.
If your chief of police is female, I bet she's not wearing an earring either. But so
she's probably sneaky hot though.
Probably.
So we're talking about Snake Plissken.
Yes, we are.
You know, again, we've
great name, by the way. What did he? I believe Carpenter also named him after a guy he knew.
So little known fact was Kurt Russell actually showed up with the eye patch on day one. It was not part of the character.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Carpenter was like,
yes, that's it. Perfect. But I did hear when they were that was the first film that he had done with Carpenter, and Carpenter did have to fight the studio to get Kurt Russell. So Kurt Russell,
they wanted Bronson,
right? They wanted a lot of people besides him. So before that time, Kurt Russell was known as for the Dexter Riley movies,
like a Disney guy,
which are great, and I still like them. They're very enjoyable and they're really good films. But he's a kid, right? He's got a baby face, and still to this day, Kurt Russell kind of has a baby face, right? Yeah. So they had to butch him up a little bit. So they made him grow the half a beard or whatever, and then like you said, he shows up with the eye patch, and that's how Carpenter sold it because the studio did not want him.
Well,
like,
and let's face it,
not going to work.
It made Kurt Russell's career. I mean, from that point on,
he's known as a badass.
He was a badass, and he was an action hero.
And he went on to many other, this one, The Thing, and Big Trouble in Little China.
And let's face it, he's a great actor.
Tango and Cash, yeah.
On top of it, he doesn't do a lot of quote unquote acting in this movie.
No, what I love about him as a character is like he's the burned out, frustrated.
Yes.
He kind of reminds me very much of the Mad Max character from The Road Warrior with Mel Gibson, where he's like, he just doesn't want to, he has to do it. He doesn't really want to do it. He's burned out through the whole thing. He's frustrated.
I think that's the interesting
He's not like a let's get him guys kind of hero.
I think that's the interesting part is that he's very much the reluctant hero. He's a guy who's been a war hero.
Yeah.
He now does not clearly like what's going on in the United States.
No, he's totally anti-government. That's the greatest line in there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
not funny, Plissken. Which, by the way, that interaction with the two of them is like a Western standoff.
And again, I know you said we're not talking about Westerns, but the fact of the matter is John Carpenter shot at least his early films as Westerns. Yeah. They're Assault Precinct 13, Western.
100%.
The Thing, Western. Yeah. Escape from New York, Western. They're all Westerns. They're all, if you go back, like if you want to watch a lot of things that inspired John Carpenter, watch Rio Bravo, directed by Howard Hawks, who also, by the way, did The Thing, the original Thing.
Yes, that's right.
Even though it was supposedly directed by a different guy named Christian Nyby, Howard Hawks actually was the guy that...
We're getting off track. Hey,
we are.
Let's talk about this scene, because this is one
But I love movies, so I'll talk all day long.
It's like a savant, this guy.
I never stole anything in my life.
Stop with that. One of my favorite scenes is Tom Atkins in the room with all the guns and the throwing stuff and all the other bullshit.
Really cool.
And they're going down the line talking about the crazy.
Yeah.
They're talking about all the other stuff that he has to look out for. And at one point, Plissken's got the jacket slung over and he's walking down the thing and he picks up the little bracelet. It's got the tracking device, and he just gets this little smirk on his face, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, this guy actually does want to go.
Yeah, because he's a soldier, and not only is he a soldier, he's a high-level soldier. Oh, yeah. I mean, like I know. Spoiler, I was in the Marine Corps, but I wasn't no spec op guy, but I know spec op guys. Those guys are trained really high. So that was like the beginning of this. Like after that, then you had a slew of movies where the hero was an ex-spec op guy, even up to this day. It's like, but that, to my knowledge, that was really one of the first ones.
The next thing, Steven Seagal's a chef on a fucking battleship.
Right, right, exactly.
Sorry.
Are we really going to do, are you pulling that shit? I mean,
start with one and then
Steven Seagal. Although I would say that's probably Steven Seagal's best film.
I will agree with that. Although I liked Above the Law. So that leads us into what I think
I did like Above
the second best scene of the whole movie, which is where he goes in and gets the Van Cleef.
Yeah, and they don't tell him what it is.
Exactly, until.
Which begs the question, did they really inject him with anything?
That's a great question.
Was it in his head?
Well, because technically, spoiler alert, I'm sure you've seen the movie, but when he shows up, it's after the 15-minute buffer zone.
Yeah.
Those to neutralize the cores. So
yeah, it was big
enough to
they don't and I like it that they sort of left it up to your imagination, but I always got the feeling that they were kind of fucking with him. And it wasn't.
I just love
didn't put anything in his neck.
You know, it's like, oh man.
I'm sorry. Damn about your
Snake Plissken. I'm not sure I don't have a. Anyway, go ahead. We're tired. Never mind. So he then has to fly the glider into New York.
Yeah, which is cool because it's really neat where he's like, been a while. You know,
and oh, by the way, part of Carpenter's awesomeness at creating effects and things like that. If you ever see what went on to create the glider mode, I mean, it was like they took an Etch-a-Sketch and threw some bullshit on top of it, and he made it look like it was high tech.
And it's really cool because you have all this antiquated now. Is that a word?
You're not trying to talk about antiques, are you?
Yeah.
Well, antiquated being old, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Well, a blind bird gets a worm once in a while.
Right.
But anyway,
broken clocks right 2 times a day.
But to see those effects now, but back then that was high tech shit, man.
Listen, I still think it all holds up today.
Oh, totally.
It's all good.
It totally holds up.
A couple ones that are kind of
what I really like
when the plane explodes with the president, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
which by the way, let's talk about the plot of the story.
Yes.
The president's plane, Air Force One, has been hijacked by some what we'll call domestic terrorists.
By the way, who's the chick talking on the radio inside the plane?
She's the nurse from
She's
Halloween.
The nurse from Halloween with the rabbit in red matchbook.
That's correct.
And she shows up also in Halloween too as a different nurse.
So they are the People's Liberation Front?
Yeah, the People's
for all the workers. Anyway,
which we don't really know what they stand for because they never say.
One of the things I've never been around secret, security or anything like that for the president.
I have.
Those guys on the plane were surprisingly calm, knowing
about dying,
getting ready to be in a plane crash.
Yeah, nobody fought to go into the pod. They're like,
he's calmly telling him, "Sir, this will track your progress as you get into the pod.
We're all gonna die.
We'll be okay. To perish in a fiery death in the middle of Manhattan.
We'll be fine. So, you'll be fine. We're all gonna die, but don't you worry about that.
At least Donald Pleasance, as the president, is kind enough to tell everybody as he gets into the pod, "God watch over me." Or no, God save me and watch over you.
Save me.
Sorry.
And watch over you. Yeah, is that the line?
That is the line.
Oh my God. Could you imagine the arrogance of it?
I don't want to throw out hiccups in the plot here, but Donald Pleasance is clearly
British.
Foreign. And I'm not a big historian, but I think one of the
things I remember
in the Constitution is you have to be born here to be president.
You have to be, you got to be a natural born citizen.
Now it is in the future, so maybe they've adapted.
Maybe they changed it. If that were the case, Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be really pissed. That's what kept him.
Now, can you imagine if Arnold Schwarzenegger was Donald Pleasance?
He wouldn't need Snake Plissken.
Get out of his snake.
But they did. But actually,
somebody get me to the pod.
Didn't they do that with another film? Was it Kurt Russell that played the president, or was it Harrison Ford? Where they're like, not this president, he's a badass.
It was Harrison Ford. It was in the London is Fallen movies with
I didn't see
Aaron Eckhart and Aaron Eckhart plays kind of the semi-badass.
Any good? I haven't seen.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
All right, we're not talking about those. Here's another part I like.
For a long time, discussing the remake of Escape from New York, Gerard Butler was bandied around as potential Snake Plissken.
Actually, he would have been a pretty good Snake Plissken if you had to replace him. I do too.
You know who would make a great Snake Plissken in the
Eddie Deason. Oh, this guy? Yeah, and you could get him real cheap.
I know, that's the thing.
I have it on good authority.
Good authority. I work for peanuts.
I could play Ox Baker.
Oh, let's talk about the wrestling connection to the one and only Escape from New York.
Yeah.
In the movie, Snake gets captured trying to rescue the president.
Correct.
He gets shot with an arrow.
Yeah.
Which stays in his leg for the preponderance of the film afterwards.
Does it?
Well, for a while.
Yeah, I think he does pull it out eventually.
And then they decide to put him.
Yeah, they have this. So to amuse themselves.
Yes.
the prisoners have set up like combat sports, gladiator games, and their champion is the one and only, you wrestling fans, Douglas Ox Baker. Who, if you don't know who Ox Baker was a big star in the 70s and in the early 80s. And
$1 million bug.
$1 million.
Anybody ever looks like a bad guy wrestler?
It was Ox Baker.
It was Ox Baker.
One of the absolute nicest guys in the business. He also, little known fact, had a cooking show. He would, well, it's not a show, but he had a Facebook page.
You know,
and Ox Baker, you could probably still go on it now. It's probably still active. And Ox Baker was making food in his kitchen, and he was a good cook, and he would tell you how to make stuff.
Was oxtail his specialty?
No, I don't know. Probably. I think when I watched, he was making eggs or something. But super nice guy. Corresponded with him a little bit. Met him a couple of times with Eli.
Oh yeah.
And super great guy. Passed away a few years ago.
Master of the heart punch.
Yeah, the heart. Now, let me tell you something else about Ox. Ox was stiff. And if you could have, Ox had a hand.
And that brings us to our wrestling term of the week.
Stiff.
Brother dear, would you tell everybody what stiff means?
Okay, so when you're wrestling, to expose the business more, not that Vince didn't expose it for everybody anyway.
The veil's been pulled.
Yeah, the veil's been pulled, so we're not telling anybody anything. We're not telling anybody. Look, when we got into the business was still under penalty of death. You couldn't give it away, and that's true. That is a truism for both the Manson brothers and for those dopes that wrote the movie. So anyway, stiff is when you're working a match. You have to be really light, so you take care of each other. You don't want to hurt the other guy, because obviously if you do that, then you can't wrestle the next day in the next town and make money. So if you're stiff, that means you're going a little hard. Now there's a difference between there's snug and there's stiff and there's being a crowbar. Stiff is kind of in the middle. And while that goes along with that. But being stiff is like if you're throwing a punch and you're laying them in there, that's being stiff. Now sometimes you can agree
to work stiff.
Right? Because maybe the audience is really close and you don't want to have a lot of air between the movements. Yep. It could also be holding the holds a little bit snugger than usual. Or it's just somebody that's not a very good worker and they're stiff in general. Like, oh God, I don't work too stiff. And actually when Bret Hart retired, when he was at WCW and he retired, in his speech, he thanked all the guys he wrestled with, and he actually said, I hope I wasn't too stiff.
Yeah.
And in front of, millions of people.
Well, let's face it, some guys pride themselves on being stiff. I never understood that.
No, me neither.
Some guys pride themselves on making everything look stiff and not be stiff.
Right. There's a lot. Yeah. I like working snug. Yeah. But being stiff, look, nobody wants to go home with a broken nose.
It's not ballet. You got to take shots every now and then, right?
Absolutely. But being stiff also in general is a look to it. Like when you see so you watch the higher level guys, your Flairs and your Pipers and Bret Harts and so on, they relaxed, right? They don't look like they're moving like robots. So that's also it also translates very literally as being stiff. So anyway,
that's this week's wrestling term of the week.
Yes. Stiff. So don't be stiff.
Ox, you were talking about Ox.
So Ox had a hand on him as big as my head. So if you could imagine that son of a bitch punching you in the heart. And by the way, that's a real thing. Like you could really stop somebody's heart if you punched them hard enough in it.
Happened in the NFL recently.
Yeah, right, exactly. Recently, the guy from the Buffalo Bills took the shot to the heart and supposedly
exactly the same premise.
Right, same present, compressed it, and down he goes. Yep. Thank God he's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
We're all happy about that. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. But anyway, Ox was stiff, and that heart punch was a big deal. And plus, there wasn't a guy. So we've been around, right? We know people, and we've also been fans since the early days, since the Bruiser days, early 70s. Nobody looked more like a bad guy.
No.
Even today, there's
nobody looked more like a professional wrestler than Flair, and nobody looked more like a bad guy than Ox Baker.
And there have been guys that have tried to imitate Ox's look, the Warlord and so forth down the line, but
nobody could replicate that back hair.
No. That was in the days before
anybody shaved.
Maybe they did, and he just decided it wasn't going to be a good idea. So anyway, he gets to fight Ox Baker in the ring, and first they start off with regular bats. Yeah. Right? Then they progress.
He manages to go one round.
Right, he goes one round, and then they switch it off, and they give him the bats and a garbage can lid, which I thought was inventive.
And the bats had
railroad spikes.
Yeah, in them now, right? But that's the downfall to Ox Baker, because Snake gives him kind of the loop.
He gives him an okey doke.
And then
he gets him in the stomach with it, and then flank right in the back.
And then the next thing you know, everybody's chanting
Snake. So now they're not after him.
No.
Although the guy comes out and goes, "The president's gone. Let's get talking to him."
But at that point of that, which was, by the way, a very cool moment in the movie.
Yeah.
I think everybody had assumed that they were getting ready to roll the president across. So it was
they were going to roll him again over the bridge, and they all thought they were going to get out.
So all of a sudden, everybody's looking for Brain and the president.
Right.
They don't really give a shit about Pliskin, right? What he's doing, but he's got to find his way back.
Right. So he finally gets there, and you know what? I think they glossed over it too much. I would have liked to have seen more of the crazies, which is kind of a cool scene in the diner. They sort of. I think you brought this up when we were talking about watching the movie, but why don't you tell them?
So that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, that's why I think we got to bring it up.
The crazies start, they start coming out.
Yeah, they explain at the beginning. You've got people have seen it, who the crazies are. They live in the sewers. They're cannibals.
He's been warned about the crazies.
Yeah, they only come out at night.
He kind of knows. He's got a machine gun, so I'm sure he's feeling okay. So he ducks.
Yeah, he's also a high-level trained guy, so he's like, whatever.
He ducks into chock full of nuts, right? The crazies.
Yeah. Is that where it was? Chock full of nuts? Okay.
And lo and behold, inside, there's some pretty hot chick in there who's also thrown away.
So let's get this elephant in the room out of the way. How in the world is a super hot chick in there with all these priaptic?
Well, she said
priaptic means you have an all-day hard on.
How is that a word and you don't know like what a burrito is? Well, you know what a burrito is.
What a burrito is.
But she actually says, "Hey, I got stuck here after like a meeting or something.
Yeah,
I can't make my way home."
Is that what she says?
Yeah.
So she's not in there for
she's
crimes?
She's in a gang. Oh, she's in there, but she's
she got separated from her people.
She got separated from her group.
Let me guess what she does in the group.
Well, to your point, she says,
that's my point. She's on point. Yeah, and that's another cool thing is everybody knows who he is.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean that's neat.
So she says, "Hey, what are you doing here, Snake?"
And she's like, "You're a thing." He's like, "I'm an ass."
Yeah, and so he kind of tells her, which I don't know why he's telling her, but she's hot. So she kind of says, "Hey, would you take me out of here?"
Come on, Snake.
And there's this kind of interlude going on now. Under normal circumstances, totally understand. However, he's on the Snake on the clock with like 18 hours left to go to find the president.
And it's going to blow up his neck. Yeah.
So if it's you, are you, going to get... Here's my real question. Let's say they do take the...
If it's you, you're going with the chick.
10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever, out of your time. But here's the thing. When when everything's over and it's time to get back to business, are you like, "Hey, really got to go save the president"?
She's like, "Are you gonna call me?"
Like, you know what? Yeah, if I get the things out of my neck, I'll come back and get you.
Maybe it was the other way around though. Maybe she's like blowing him off, and he's like, "Are you gonna call me?" And she's like,
wanted him to take her.
She's got 900,000 other.
By the way, everybody wanted to go on the glider, and the glider's like a 1-2-seater to get the president.
But he already. What the funny thing was, son, I don't know if this is a continuity error or what. And as our friend Jerry Harrison would like to say, continuity, damn it, is that too much to ask? In his best George C. Scott voice. So at the beginning, he says to Houck, "Taking off is fucked." So he establishes they cannot get away in the glider anyway.
Correct.
So so I don't understand why they go up there. Maybe he goes up there to chase Brain with the president.
Yeah, because they're up there trying to get the glider.
Yeah, they cut the cable and it falls.
And what's nice is eventually he gets a hold of the revolver that has unlimited.
Yeah, unlimited. Like, I wish I had a revolver like that. Holy cats!
It's a 6-shooter. I think it was a 60 shooter. When he got done with it.
Especially when Adrian Barbeau is firing it at the end.
Dude had some cool weapons.
Thousands of rounds and stuff like that.
He gets done from there. They have
but then wait a minute, let's get
way.
Back to Susan Hubley, who's at the time Kurt Russell's wife, correct?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So she was in the diner, the chick is Susan Hubley or Hubley, but she was a model, I think, at the time in the early 80s, late 70s.
She was good haircut.
Yeah, I didn't like the short hair. Ladies, leave your hair. Please leave your hair long. Not for me.
Some chicks can pull it off, but
not many.
It's like a mullet almost.
Oh yeah, it was weird. It was like an early 80s punk thing, kind of, sort of. Anyway,
not good.
she gets pulled through the floor by the crazies and it. So not a
so
not
Snake's off the hook.
He's off the hook. He don't have to call.
He's like, you know what?
Ladies and gentlemen, how many times have you been on a bad date wishing, Jesus, I wish the crazies would pull this dope through the floor? Right? I'm sure with a lot of my dates they would have.
I think there's a multitude of women.
They would have been like, Jesus, I wish this guy would go through the floor right now and get eaten by cannibals.
Yes. Don't put that on your Tinder profile.
Yeah.
But so never mind. I'm not even going to go there. Right. So he makes his way to the top of the Empire State Building.
Yeah, the glider goes down. Now they got to go down. And now they get the car and they're driving across and they hit a mine.
And we forgot about Ernest Borgnine, Cabby.
Oh, yeah, Cabby. We can't forget about Ernest Borgnine. Again, there's another one of the greatest faces of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And a great actor. Actually won an Academy Award, by the way.
And a great voice on SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, yeah. And just a great. And he had a hot wife. Ernest Tova Borgnine was hot, man.
Tova?
That's her name, Tova. T-O-V-A.
Does anyone but you know that factoid?
I don't know. I can't remember my own name half the time, but I remember this shit.
So Brain is the only guy that has the map, right? That can get him across the thing.
He thinks he does. He's guessing. He's guesstimating.
And sadly, Brain goes down in his own situation.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it's right here. Ba-boom. And Harry Dean Stanton goes, and that completely whacks out.
I was going to say, Adrienne Barbeau loses.
Does she have a name in the movie? No. Folks.
The brain squeeze.
Yeah, maybe we have to watch the credits.
Maggie,
that's right. It's Maggie. You're correct. It's Maggie, who was a gift to him from the Duke.
Duke gave her to the brain to keep him happy.
Who wouldn't? Now, I ask you guys, ladies.
If I'm the Duke, I'm keeping that for myself.
Yeah. Like, why would you give her to anybody? Unless maybe she's a pain in the ass. Who knows? Behind doors, maybe she's a pain in the ass. Maybe she's like, Brain, did you take the garbage out?
Remember?
Yeah. Brain, I thought I told you to make the bed.
Don't call me Harold.
Yeah, don't call me Harold.
Harold, make the bed.
So then at the end, right, they're going across the bridge. The Duke is in hot pursuit.
The Duke is in hot pursuit, and he's got the
machine gun.
Absconded with the machine gun.
Correct.
Right? One of the coolest weapons of all time.
I agree. It was an Ingram with a big long can on the end of it, a big silencer on it, which I thought was cool that he used it to make the hole in the walls to go through. That was really neat. Wouldn't work in real life because those walls go really fast. I don't know. Maybe
you gotta suspend.
Yeah, you do. It's fun. But fun nonetheless.
Yeah. And you know, they're in the.
So you get the president up the wall. Yeah, he gets the president over the wall though. He gets him.
Snake's going for the deal,
and it stops.
Yeah, and then.
Donald Pleasance, perhaps his greatest movie moment.
Yeah, Duke. A number one.
Nobody does it like him. He's the best.
The president takes out the Duke.
Yeah,
because he's been obviously, kind of assaulted mentally.
Well, I don't know if he was assaulted or peppered or whatever, but anyway, they get back to the thing, and then Snake goes to talk to him when he's getting ready to go on camera, and the president's like sort of blowing him off. Like, yes, we're about to go on. We're about to go on. Yeah.
Well, this nation appreciates their sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, let's say he's being a dick. Let's so Plissen's like, okay. So he walks away and he puts now the leader of the free world. Okay, you following me?
Yeah.
Follow me, folks. Leader of the free world has something that could save the planet, and it's on
cassette tape.
A cassette tape, folks.
They didn't think far enough in advance when it came to audio. They thought about prisons, but not audio.
On the other side was his mixtape with like.
Oh, it was the same.
Curtis Blow, Run DMC, and Journey.
The freaks come out at night. The freaks come out at night.
Yeah, Grandmaster Flash and all that other cool stuff from the late '80s. Probably had a Molly Cruz.
And it winds up being Cabby's like.
Yeah.
It was like American Bandstand or some shit, right?
And you see Snake,
and of course,
peeling the fucking.
Because nobody would check the tape before the president goes on global television to talk about nuclear.
Bad enough it's a kid's cassette tapes, but nobody.
And Snake walks off into just ripping the cassette apart.
And that's how they end it. It is absolutely one of the greatest films of all time. And if you don't agree with us,
and guys, I'm sorry because 45 hours isn't enough to talk about this movie. We hope we've done it justice. Bro, tell them how we pay the bills.
We pay the bills by selling merchandise like this. The Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre, our film where we save the world. It's available on Blu-ray and DVD off Amazon.com. Also, we have t-shirts that say the Manson Brothers on the front like he's wearing. And on the back, we have two ones. This one says, we put the FU in fun, because we do put the FU in fun. We also have one that says time to root for the bad guys. We got these ducky hats. We got pictures. We'll autograph everything for you. We got this great car that was actually driven in a NASCAR race. Not this one, because you'd have to be really little to go in it, but an actual full-size car, which is actually in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, folks. So you can check it out at MansonBrothers.com. Check out our show on Arrow in the Head, YouTube.com/Arrow in the Head Show, the Manson Brothers Show, because we couldn't afford a better name.
That's the show, by the way.
Yeah. Hit like and subscribe. Leave us a message, a comment, an email.
Send those viewer emails in. We love to read them, guys. Come on.
Yeah. So until next time.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Hey, to John Carpenter, Kurt Russell, and most importantly, Snake Plissken. We love you guys. We'll be back next week.
See you later, shitty fans.